In the previous spoiler, it was mentioned that Luo Feng used cheating methods to obtain the treasures during first stage of the inheritance. On the other hand, in the beginning void space selection, Luo Feng was defeated by the strongest among the veterans, the werewolf, and ultimately ranked second. If the production team hasn't cut the scene, those who are keeping an eye on Hong's recent movements might soon see him appear on screen again. After the beginning void space selection, Luo Feng, Hong, and Lei Xin will have a small gathering in the virtual universe. During this meeting, it was mentioned that due to his teacher's connections, Hong has joined the huge Axe Dojo and is being cultivated there. However, with Hong's current strength, he is not yet able to become a core member. After the brief gathering, Luo Feng returns to real life to continue focusing on the Primordial Void Space selection. In the Primordial Void Space selection, Long Yun is undoubtedly the weakest member, destined to be demoted to the beginning void space. He has only passed the 5th level of the Heavenly Bridge, and compared to others who have passed the 7th level, the gap in their comprehension of the laws is too vast, leaving him with no chance of winning. On the other hand, Fei Tuo, with her achievement of passing the 8th level of the Heavenly Bridge, is undoubtedly the strongest universe-level member in the Primordial Void Space. As for Bolan, had it not been for his previous obsession with cultivating both the original laws of space and time, his talent in the space law alone would have allowed him to firmly remain in the Primordial Void Space. Unfortunately, by the time he realized and decided to focus primarily on the space law, with time law as a supplement, his progress was no longer sufficient to defeat Mol Luo. Even so, when Mol Luo killed Bolan, he paid a heavy price and was severely injured, showing that Bolan's cultivation talent far exceeded Mol Luo's. In this selection, Mol Luo was defeated by Fei Tuo and an illusionist, ultimately ranking 3rd. This means that Mol Luo, Bolan, and Long Yun will compete with the winners of the beginning void space, including Luo Feng, among them, for the last spot in the Primordial Void Space. I wonder if anyone has noticed that, from the qualification battle until now, the werewolf character I've mentioned several times has seemingly never appeared. Clearly, this character was removed from the adaptation and replaced by Luo Feng, who took the first spot in the beginning void space selection. In fact, when competing for the last spot in the Primordial Void Space, the werewolf was originally Luo Feng's strongest opponent. With the divine general inheritance, Luo Feng's strength increased significantly, but from the observation of battle videos, despite the werewolf having only passed the 7th level of the Heavenly Bridge on the surface, the King Immortal Jinyan judged that the werewolf's true strength was sufficient to break through the 8th level, possibly even surpassing Luo Feng. This judgment was based on the belief that Luo Feng, despite acquiring the divine general inheritance, was still a universe level, and thus, his ability to absorb inheritance was extremely limited, making it difficult for him to compete with the werewolf. What Shen didn't know was that the inheritance Luo Feng received was far beyond his expectations. Even so, Luo Feng was aware of his own shortcomings. Despite his spiritual energy amplitude having reached an astonishing 1,000 times, and after using the enhancement secret technique of the golden horned beast to further enhance his soul strength, causing his amplitude to soar to over 2,000 times, he still estimated his chances of defeating the werewolf at only 30%, with no certainty of victory. In fact, not only did Luo Feng have opportunities, but the werewolf also had his own fortune. He once gained a significant opportunity during a dangerous level mission, which caused a qualitative change in his strength. After obtaining this opportunity, the werewolf became even more eager to challenge dangerous level and even desperate level tasks, hoping to gain more fortune. However, due to his survival methods being far inferior to Luo Feng's, he unfortunately perished during the execution of a desperate level task. This accident allowed Luo Feng to win without a fight, becoming the final victor of the competition and successfully advancing to the Primordial Void Space. As for the other defeated members, including Mol Luo and Bolan, they were demoted to the beginning void space. Do you feel that the storyline of Luo Feng's battle with the werewolf seems familiar? Yes, it evokes memories of Luo Feng's battle with Bolan. At that time, Bolan suddenly went offline, and Fei Tuo also wondered why they didn't simply declare Bolan's surrender, allowing Luo Feng to win without a fight. What's more thought-provoking is whether Bolan in this storyline not only replaced the werewolf's position but also inherited the werewolf's fate. This speculation might be confirmed by clues found in episode 153 and the preview of episode 154. From the preview of episode 154, we learn that Mol Luo has successfully locked onto Bolan's position and is preparing to strike with a killing move. This suggests that Mol Luo's auxiliary intelligence has detected that Bolan, though severely injured, still retains a faint life force, otherwise, such an action would be meaningless. So, will Mol Luo succeed in killing Bolan? Or will Bolan miraculously survive? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section and let's discuss the upcoming plot developments. As Mol Luo prepares to kill Bolan to solidify his position in the virtual universe company, it indirectly means that Rongjun and Wuka will narrowly escape disaster. If Wuka faced Mol Luo alone, the outcome would almost be predetermined. Wuka had only passed the 5th level of the Heavenly Bridge, while Mol Luo had already passed the 7th level, leaving a vast gap in their understanding of the laws, making Wuka no match for Mol Luo. However, the appearance of Rongjun changed the situation. Although Rongjun had only passed the 6th level of the Heavenly Bridge, as a combat-type warrior, he had a significant advantage in battle talent. Even though his understanding of the laws may not be as advanced as Mol Luo's, Mol Luo would find it difficult to quickly defeat him. With Rongjun and Wuka working in perfect harmony, it is clearly unrealistic for Mol Luo to kill both of them in a short amount of time. If the battle drags on too long and they get the chance to send a message, Mol Luo's crime of killing his own comrades will be exposed. At that point, not only will Mol Luo face judgment from the Virtual Universe Company, but he will also lose his status as a core member. This would completely ruin his attempt to kill Bolan to solidify his position. More importantly, if Mol Luo, upon encountering Rongjun and Wuka, tries to frame Luo Feng for plotting against Galaxy and targeting him, Rongjun and Wuka will inevitably question his claims. Having known Luo Feng for a long time, they trust him much more than Mol Luo, who is a relatively unfamiliar figure. Faced with Mol Luo's one-sided accusations, they will certainly be more cautious. Seeing that the two are growing suspicious of him, Mol Luo will have no choice but to abandon his plan and look for an easier target. Thus, in the preview of episode 154, we see Mol Luo preparing to kill Bolan. This development is the result of Mol Luo weighing the pros and cons of his situation. What do you think of Mol Luo's actions? Will Bolan manage to escape? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments and join the discussion. Personally, I believe that in order for the audience to witness the battle between Luo Feng, Mol Luo, and Bolan, the production team may adjust the storyline to prevent Mol Luo from successfully killing Bolan. Looking back at episode 153, the spies sent by the Nine Swords Venerable might arrive at a critical moment and successfully save Bolan. If this happens, Mol Luo's actions will be exposed. Once his crimes are revealed, Mol Luo will inevitably face judgment from the Virtual Universe Company, and he might even be sentenced to death, making it nearly impossible for him to fight Luo Feng in the qualification battle. Even if Mol Luo miraculously isn't exposed on the spot, Luo Feng holds the key evidence left by Galaxy, which would be enough to prove Mol Luo's illegal actions. After all, Galaxy's death makes any false accusations impossible, because no one would sacrifice their own life to frame someone else. However, if the battle between Luo Feng and Mol Luo were cancelled, it would undoubtedly disappoint many viewers. To meet the expectations of the audience, I suspect that the production team might design a scenario where the spies fail to stop Mol Luo, and instead, Mol Luo begins to flee in the Demon Mountain. This way, the plot could arrange for them to meet again when Luo Feng completes his inheritance and leaves the palace. As in the original novel, Luo Feng would give Mol Luo a severe lesson, even beating him to the point where Mol Luo would be picking his teeth off the ground, before finally capturing him and handing him over to the Virtual Universe Company for judgment. However, there are some parts of this setup that are difficult to execute. After all, Luo Feng spent 12 years receiving the Divine General inheritance. If Mol Luo were to flee in the Demon Mountain for 12 years, the plot would seem somewhat unrealistic. Unless the production team shortens the time Luo Feng spends on his inheritance, they may choose a more reasonable way to handle this part of the story. For example, they might have Mol Luo decisively stop his assassination attempt when he realizes the spies are rescuing Bolan, thereby preserving his clean identity, until Luo Feng presents the evidence to reveal the truth. What are your thoughts on this plot development? Which version of the story are you most looking forward to? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments and join the discussion. In a previous video, I mentioned that Luo Feng's spiritual energy amplitude had surpassed 1,000 times, even higher than many King Immortals. This figure is certainly impressive, and it has raised some questions among viewers. Has Luo Feng already broken through to the Immortal level? Is his spiritual energy really stronger than that of Immortal level powerhouses? The answer is no. To understand this, we need to return to the essence of the amplitude and reassess the relationship between the power amplitude and a warrior's basic strength. The effect of the power amplitude is based on the basic strength of the warrior, not a simple addition of absolute power. For example, an ant can lift an object that weighs 50 to 100 times its own body weight, while an elephant can only lift about 1/10 of its body weight. If we treat these ratios as the amplitude of spiritual energy, then the ant's amplitude is 50 times, while the elephant's is only 10 times. However, does this mean that the ant is stronger than the elephant? Of course not. The ant cannot lift a 10-kilogram rock, while the elephant can easily do so. This shows that the size of the amplitude is relative to the basic strength, but the absolute power still depends on the warrior's rank and basic abilities. In addition to basic strength, cultivation level brings a huge difference in soul strength. We can compare soul strength to paper. A planetary level soul is like a thin sheet of paper, and as the level increases, the soul becomes more resilient, from a thin sheet to thick cardboard, all the way to the world master level. However, regardless of how its strength changes, they all stem from the same material, so although there is a difference between planetary level and world master level souls, they are still on the same phase. This is why, once the spiritual energy amplitude reaches a certain standard, a warrior can demonstrate the ability to fight beyond their level. However, the extent of this ability is limited, because the amplitude cannot completely make up for the inherent difference in soul strength. It's like we can easily tear a thin sheet of paper, but when facing thick cardboard, we cannot tear it. When a warrior breaks through from World Master to Immortal level, the soul undergoes a fundamental transformation. This transformation can be compared to paper turning into diamond, a gap in quality that the simple effect of amplitude cannot bridge. Even if Luo Feng pushes his spiritual energy amplitude to maximum, it is still difficult to reach the spiritual energy intensity that an Immortal level powerhouse can release without using amplitude. Therefore, even though Luo Feng's spiritual energy amplitude exceeds 1,000 times, giving him a powerful ability to fight above his level within the same rank, he still cannot make up for the enormous gap in soul essence between him and an Immortal level powerhouse through amplitude alone. The power of an Immortal level powerhouse cannot be matched simply by amplitude. It stems from an all-around qualitative change after the rank breakthrough. This also highlights the profound significance of cultivation levels. So, you may be curious about what Luo Feng's powerful spiritual energy amplitude is useful for. Recall Luo Feng's performance at the 7th level of the Heavenly Bridge, where he barely defeated the Gatekeeper using the Sword World from his Yenshin armament, by condensing a sword force through his consciousness that surpassed others at the same rank. However, Luo Feng admitted that with his strength at that time, he could not defeat Bolan. But after obtaining the inheritance, Luo Feng's spiritual energy amplitude has increased 20 times compared to before, and now he can condense not just a single strand of sword force, but continuously form successive strands, attacking his opponent with unrelenting force. For Bolan, blocking 2 to 3 strands of sword force is already the limit, let alone the fact that Luo Feng can condense 3 to 5 strands at once, forcing Bolan to defend with all his might, leaving him no time to counterattack. However, out of respect for Bolan, Luo Feng did not use his full strength. He admires Bolan deeply and does not wish to win with overwhelming force. Instead, he used slightly stronger power than Bolan to defeat him, as a sign of respect. But with Mol Luo, the situation is entirely different. Mol Luo's various actions have made Luo Feng detest him from the bottom of his heart, leading Luo Feng to choose a more playful approach to deal with him. Luo Feng continuously condensed sword force, injuring Mol Luo again and again, humiliating him in this manner before finally killing him, venting his inner dissatisfaction. This differentiated approach fully demonstrates Luo Feng's completely different attitude toward enemies and friends. In the qualification battle for the Primordial Void Space, Luo Feng, with his outstanding cultivation talent and combat skills, ultimately secured the final spot, becoming a member of the Primordial Void Space. Although this was Luo Feng's first time participating in a qualification battle, he still managed to defeat many seasoned members who had been cultivating for at least 1,000 years. This undoubtedly reflected his exceptional talent and strength. When Luo Feng not only survived but also won the championship in the qualification battle, Marquis Immortal Puyu was undoubtedly shocked. This meant she would face a formidable enemy. It is worth mentioning that the assassins she had dispatched had already been killed by her, so Luo Feng naturally had no way of knowing who was behind the scenes, and as a result, he did not hold any grudges against her. However, based on the plot adapted from the animation, Luo Feng detected the presence of Puyu from the memories of a domain master level assassin. Despite this, even if he were to encounter and recognize her in the future, Luo Feng would be at a loss, as he has no concrete evidence to accuse her. Of course, if some clues could be found from Mol Luo, the situation might be different. On the other hand, Luo Feng's promotion to a member of the Primordial Void Space not only greatly elevated his status within the Black Dragon Mountain Empire and the Qianwu Universe country but also granted him a 10,000-man bodyguard led by the Immortal-level powerhouse, Dylan. Dylan's strength is close to that of a Marquis Immortal, although slightly weaker than Huyanba's, but beings of such caliber typically do not serve as bodyguards, only the most ordinary immortals are assigned such duties. In fact, Dylan is a disciple of one of Luo Feng's senior brothers who has reached the King Immortal level, meaning Luo Feng is Dylan's senior uncle. Among the many disciples of Jinyan, only the senior brother had reached the King Immortal level. Jinyan made this arrangement, clearly considering that when Luo Feng breaks through to the domain master level and is assigned to a universe country, he would have a powerful and trustworthy person by his side to protect him, as Jinyan has many enemies. It is evident how deep Jinyan's favoritism toward Luo Feng is. In addition to gaining a 10,000-man bodyguard, Luo Feng also acquired a new mentor who was at least at the level of a marquee immortal. Unlike when he sought out Jinyan as his master, this time Luo Feng did not need to personally seek a master. Instead, he submitted an application through the Virtual Universe Company. This is a unique privilege for every member of the Primordial Void Space, but it requires the mentor's voluntary acceptance. After all, having a marquee immortal-level powerhouse guide you long-term is nearly impossible. Only when there is a strong personal connection or a deep sense of care and talent recognition for the younger generation will a marquee immortal-level powerhouse be willing to take on such a role. Therefore, the Virtual Universe Company does not force any mentor but relies entirely on the mentor's willingness to decide whether to take on the responsibility. Through his own connections, Jinyan arranged for Luo Feng to have a personal mentor who was proficient in claw techniques, has made certain achievements in the laws of space and gold, and whose strength is close to that of a king immortal. This move clearly demonstrates Luo Feng's important status in Jinyan's heart. Initially, this mentor, who had a request for Jinyan, reluctantly agreed to take on this position. According to the available information, Luo Feng is a spiritual master, and this mentor specializes in claw techniques, not in teaching spiritual masters. Therefore, he initially planned to only provide some simple guidance to Luo Feng, considering it enough to fulfill his responsibility if Luo Feng made a little progress. However, when Luo Feng used his secret technique at the mentor's request, he actually employed claw techniques rather than spiritual weapons. The mentor was overjoyed. Because in his understanding, a powerful spiritual master who could also excel in close combat and master claw techniques was an incredibly rare opportunity. How could such a perfect student not captivate him? Thus, the mentor immediately decided to personally teach Luo Feng the secret techniques he had developed and gave him great assistance in the process. From Luo Feng's display of claw techniques, it is evident that although their power is still far from that of the werewolf, in terms of application, he had no flaws, and his claw techniques showed even more potential than the werewolf's. The mentor did not know that Luo Feng's claw techniques were based on the results of the golden horned beast's training from the beast god statue, so the application method was naturally flawless. This caused a qualitative change in Luo Feng's strength. However, I personally believe that due to modeling cost considerations, the mentor may be caught. But considering that both the mentor and the bodyguard team will live with Luo Feng long-term, and the mentor's and bodyguard's tasks can be carried out simultaneously without interference, Dylan will likely take on the role of the mentor. Under the mentor's guidance, Luo Feng followed the mentor's teachings with half of his consciousness, while the other half continued to receive the inheritance. After about 12 years of receiving the inheritance, Luo Feng completed around 90% of the first stage of the inheritance. However, with the extreme exhaustion of his soul, he eventually fainted, and the inheritance process thus came to an end. Although Luo Feng did not manage to fully receive all the inheritance, his soul had become much stronger. With his powerful will, Luo Feng decided to attempt merging the Blood River crystal once again. As for whether he succeeded, stay tuned for my next spoiler. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching this video. Wish you a wonderful day.